What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Whiskey Society. We're making history today, episode 1. So for the 8 people total, maybe the 3 that aren't my mother, thanks so much for watching this, and welcome to the channel. Hope you like it. For our first video, we're going to be comparing 2 bottles. The first, very rare, highly coveted, expensive, especially if you can't get it for MSRP. That would be George T. Stagg Barrel Proof Bourbon as part of the annual Buffalo Trace Antique Collection release. This bottle that we're going to be tasting now is specifically the 2018 release. We're going to be comparing that with a much more reasonably priced. Absolutely can't compare the accessibility. This bottle is also a barrel proof bourbon, but it's readily available at your liquor store or at your whiskey bar right now. You can go taste it today or tomorrow if you wanted to. That's Bulleit Bourbon Barrel Proof. I think it highlights some similarities that the George T. Stagg brings in terms of nice rounded boldness, similar proof, some similarities in the flavor profiling as well. I'm certainly not suggesting or trying to replace George T. Stagg. In my opinion, it's one of the best bourbons out there, one of the best whiskeys out there, and I don't think you can replace it. But the issue is it's so hard to get. It's so hard to get access to that we're left searching for alternatives. And I think the Bulleit Bourbon Barrel Strength is a great alternative option. So that's our episode 1, and it's coming at you now.
Uncorked bottle straight to the face. Whiskey flood in my teeth, can I get a taste? Separate the flavor clean, no chase. Barrel strength in my veins, never replaced. Straight up neat over rocks, keep whiskey rare. Bottle to the shot glass, sip an angel share. Pull back the curtain to reveal something, make you stare. Once the whiskey hit your lips, you without a care. Single barrel bourbon got me feeling hypey. Here's to drinking and learning, cheers, Whiskey Society.
I'm going to start off with the George T. Stagg. I want to preface this bottle a little bit. Let me give you a shot of it first. You can see that I really enjoy it because unfortunately I only have about 1/10 of it left. Now, as I said, this is part of the annual Buffalo Trace Antique Collection release. I believe it to be one of the best out of that release, year after year. There's certainly people out there that are going to say that the William LaRue Weller is the best, and it certainly is fantastic, don't get me wrong. All of them are, all 5 of them are. I really enjoy the Handy as well. I think that's a really unique, special rye, but year after year, or if I was only able to get one, I would pick the George T. Stagg for a couple of reasons. I really enjoy bourbon, right? I enjoy bourbon more than the ryes that are available. I like wheated bourbons, as in the Weller and the Pappies and so forth, but I enjoy the expression of the George T. a little bit more than Weller. And I think the George T. does a phenomenal job of hiding its proof and rounding out those very bold flavors into an extremely sippable whiskey, a sippable bourbon, which it's hard to find at the proof that it's at. So let me give you a little bit of the bottle stats here, right? Obviously, we're talking barrel proof Kentucky straight bourbon. The proof is almost 125, excuse me, I almost said 123. So we're almost at 125 here. So this is not, beginner bourbon, right? And I don't want to give the wrong impression that when you drink it, you're not going to feel any heat. Usually, even at the 80 proof, you're gonna get a little bit of heat. That's part of the experience here. That's whiskey, okay? If you don't want heat, go drink a hard seltzer. That's not our territory. There's gonna be a little bit of heat, and I enjoy it, and it's not overpowering, powerful heat. It's, especially at 125 proof, it is extremely balanced and well managed, okay? So let's give the George T. a little bit of a pour here. I'll give you a smell, I'll give you a palate, and we'll go from there. And then we'll compare it to the Bulleit Bourbon cask strength. Okay. Boy, you can smell, even just opening the cork, you can smell it right off the bat. And it is a fantastic beverage. Okay, George T. Yeah, I had this 2018 bottle many times now, and so obviously it's something that's pretty familiar to me. Like I said, one of my favorite whiskeys, period, one of my favorite bourbons, period. And yes, you know, obviously you'll see in the color, you can see that it's a high proof. It's very deep, dark, you know, dark brown, rich brown, little hazy, just because of the high proof and the fact that it's not filtered. You're gonna have your classic bourbon flavors, right? You got your wood, you've got your dark sugars, you got your caramels, you've got you know, toffee. There's leather in there. The nose by no means displays 125 proof, in my opinion. Not at all. I mean, I can really get my nose in there without burning anything. I think that's really a special thing about this bourbon. And one of the things that is sitting in my glass a little bit more that I'm noticing now and I have before is the fact that I'm getting a really nice, you know, little peppery wood, but there's a bright fruitness, a light fruitness here. I would say caramel, apple, like a caramel Granny Smith apple note here that is really nice. It kind of reminds me of those suckers I had as a kid, that it was a green apple sucker and they wrapped it in caramel. It has that smell, and I can almost chew it already without even tasting it. It's a really, really nice, balanced, you know, green apple, caramel undertone underneath the traditional wood, pepper, dark sugar notes. That's just really, really nice. I'm gonna give it a taste here. .125 proof. There's a little bit of a bourbon hug, little heat. The nose, I think, is true on the palate for me. Those flavors that I explained in the nosing of the bourbon are following through here on the taste. A little bit more of that green apple. I think the taste gives me a little bit more dark fruit as well. So there's a cherry almond note beyond the smell that I wasn't quite getting. I got a little bit of that on the nose, but it was really having to dig for it. Here on the taste, like I said, classic bourbon, really nice balanced wood, bold, caramel, green apple, Granny Smith apple note. And you have this very nice almond, dark cherry complexity here as I'm continuing to taste this whiskey. It's still, you know, it's hit the back of my throat, it's going down here. Nothing is burning, nothing's kicking back. It's a very long, extremely pleasant finish, which again is pretty awesome. Again, based off the proof and based off of it, this isn't your typical bourbon, right? This is the things that separate it from your typical off-the-shelf bourbon, all right? That very long, pleasant finish. It's balanced all the way through. It gives you a little spice here, gives you a little sweet, comes back to some wood, but not at any point is it overly done, too bold, too hot. It's just really, really nice and balanced. Gosh, that is really good, guys. Now, let's talk about pricing a little bit for the George T, because this is the issue. In my state, which is a control state, there's good and bad to that, and you know, that's a video all in itself. But in a control state, if you're actually able to find it, or if you're able to get access, if you're buddies with, you know, the liquor store owner or you win through a lottery or something like that, get lucky, you're gonna pay MSRP. So Buffalo Trace, the distillery, suggests that George T. Stagg is sold for $100. And I paid exactly that. I paid $99 and change for this at my local liquor store. That's not typical, I realize that. Most of the time in many states, that are privatized, that liquor store owner is going to sell this for whatever price they think is fair. And a lot of times that price gets jacked, right? 3, 4, 5, 800 plus because of the rarity and because of the popularity of this bottle. So I understand that. At $100, absolutely 100% get this bottle. If you have access to it, if somebody offers it, you get this bottle and you enjoy it. You bring it out for special occasions when you're celebrating, graduation, anniversary, wedding, whatever the situation may be. This is your guy. This is especially if you like bourbon. Even if you don't like bourbon, I dare you not to like this, right? At MSRP, 99 and change, no brainer for me. Now, if you're paying well above that, okay, then that's a judgment call. I can't tell you what your whiskey budget is. I can't tell you if it's worth it for you or not. Above a couple $100, above $300, $400, I'm gonna pass. I love this bottle. I've loved every bottle that they've released as part of the BTAC, and it's hard for me to say that, but at some point you have a cost-benefit analysis, right? You have a marginal benefit decreasing as that cost goes up, in my opinion. There's other great bourbons that are in that 30 to 60 range, up to 100, that are almost as good, just as good in the right environment or with the right palate, and well above, like I said, $300-400. Even at $400, that's pushing it for me in terms of that balance between cost benefit. Okay, so I just want to throw that out there because I realize not everybody has access to this bottle, let alone access to it for $100. $100, 100% buy. Above and beyond that, your call, right? Okay, there's George T. Stagg, fantastic bourbon. Next, Bulleit Bourbon barrel strength. Okay, this particular barrel is batch 4. Now, I should say particular bottle is batch 4. Similar proof. This baby, they list it as almost 62%, so 124 proof, 123 proof. So real similar to the George T. Stagg. The aging on this, and I guess I didn't mention the aging on the George T. Stagg. The aging on this, based off of research I've done online and press releases and so forth, is a blend of 5 to 8 years. Now the George T. is the 2018 release, keep in mind, is 15 years plus, a few months. All right, so there's one thing there. Additional age doesn't always mean better, but some palates really like that teen year aged bourbon. I'm one of those. I also like younger bourbon, but the 15-year age is really that sweet spot for me. That 12 to 18 range is where I really like my bourbons in terms of aging. 5 to 8 years, still a good aging, okay? Similar proof, and as I'll talk about in a minute, as we give it a smell and we give it a taste, I think there's some similar flavor profiles here that, like I said, won't replace George T, but will help you reminisce about George T, and will be a nice quality bourbon that you can drink neat, put a little bit of ice in. I think it'll hold up to ice, or a little bit of water, certainly. Okay, let's give it a pour. I love that cork sound. Okay. The smell doesn't burst out of the bottle like the George does. I'll admit that. However, I've had this before, I've had this a few times, but this bottle specifically, I only got about a week or so ago to do this video, and I didn't have to wait in line for it. It wasn't in back storage. right on the shelf, many bottles, picked it right up. Okay, so it's certainly, absolutely no question more accessible than George T. Stagg. Okay, here in my state, I think I paid in the 50s, if I remember correctly, for the barrel strength Bulleit. Bulleit does a lot of great bottlings. You know, their rye is good. I usually use that for one of my mixers. I drink it neat too, certainly, or you know, with rocks. Their you know, traditional bourbon, I think, is real tasty. Their 10 years, very nice in my opinion. You know, pretty close to the barrel strength here, but I think the barrel strength, even though it's a little bit less aging than the 10 year, I think the barrel strength helps show its best. And what I mean by that is you get more flavor. Okay, the flavor is more identifiable, more unique, and I think they really did a very nice job at their 123, 124 proof of still, like the George T. Stagg, of still rounding out those flavors. It's not overly bold, it's very balanced, it's not hot. Okay, and you certainly, again, you get the heat, you get that bourbon hug, but it's not overly done. Okay, it doesn't kick back on you, just like the George T. Stagg, and that's one of the reasons why I think this is a nice alternative bottle when George T. Stagg is not available. So let's give it a nose here real quick. That smells good. I would say, you know, there's a similar sweetness, dark sugar sweetness to it as the George T. That wood pepper notes, still very nice, balanced, they're present. There's that little green apple note that I talked about in the George T. that it's not nearly as present as in the George T. But that's one of those things that I really like about the Stagg. But it's there. That same caramel, apple, Granny Smith note is certainly there. I think there's more rye in this. I'll be honest with you, I haven't done the research on mash bill, but I believe, you know, unless my nose is deceiving me, I think I'm getting a little bit more rice spice in the Bulleit compared to the George. There's this really nice sort of cinnamony, let me see if I can give you a better note than that. It's you know what it is? It's coffee cake. It's like this really nice flour baked good, sweet, cinnamon, sugar, you know, note here that kind of reminds me of a coffee cake that I think is really nice. It's not like dry cinnamon. It's not as sharp as dry cinnamon. It's more rounded than that. Like a coffee cake with a little bit of a frosting on it. That's something that I didn't notice in the George T. there. So I think if you like a little bit more of a peppery nose, that still has some nice, bold, deep notes to it. You know, when we're talking the proof that we're experiencing here at the mid 120s, I think you really like this. It's very pleasant. You know, I guess I should show the color too. Forgot to do that previously. It's not as deep. You know, obviously it's aged about half as long. A little bit more red, but it's still a nice, you know, dark brown tinge to it. It's a little bit more clear in the George T. I'm not sure about the filtering here, if it's set or not, but it would appear that it was filtered. Okay, you know, beyond just taking out the charcoal pieces. But yeah, like I said, the nose is very nice. Little taste here. Nose is true on the palate as well. A little more pepper. It definitely hit the back of my throat a little quicker, giving me, you know, some sweetness. The wood, that rice spice is there. That coffee cake is there. The apple, I'm not tasting as much. You know, on the palate for the George T, that was really present for me. Not so much here, but that nice balanced wood, pepper, dark sugars, sweetness. I'm not getting that dark fruit really that I was getting with the George T. Getting more of a, you know, like a corn husk, a note here on the flavor than I am the George T as well. Let me get one more taste here just to see if I can get a little bit more out of it. You know, it's a shorter finish, certainly. I think, you know, I alluded to that. I was expecting that, but it's not a short finish. It's a nice medium finish, no burn, very comfortable all the way down. The hug is the bourbon hug, as they say. It's very pleasant here. It's not coming back up. It's not kicking. Right? You don't get that fire back, and I think that is very impressive, again, when we're talking about 124 proof. Okay? I would not need to add water or ice to either one of these. I as a personal preference, I avoid water and ice as much as I can. I seldom do it, just because I like to experience what, you know, especially on barrel proofs, I like to experience what came out of that barrel. That's what I want to taste and chew on. This is very pleasant. The Bulleit Bourbon cask strength is very, very pleasant. I'm really enjoying this. For it being right off the shelf, about half the price. In my state as a George T. Stagg, and other states that are privatized, it's going to be, you know, fractions of the price of the George T. Stagg. I think this is a really nice alternative bottle when George T. Stagg is not available. A little bit more rice spice, a little bit more peppery, black pepper, you know, wood spice. But there's this very nice, like I mentioned, cinnamon coffee cake note to it that the George T didn't have. You know, that corn husk note as well, and that might actually be more enticing. You know, certain palates. There's going to be palates that probably like the Bulleit Bourbon better than the George T, or as much. I'm really close. You know, like I said, this is one of my favorites. The George T. Stagg is one of my absolute favorites, so it holds a special place in my heart. But I'm reasonable enough to admit this is really close. This is really tasty. A little bit different, and that's good. That's okay. That's what we want. That's what we like whiskey and drink whiskey, because the variety of flavor profiles. At the price, at barrel proof, at the quality that this is, I think this is a really great juice, and I'll certainly be drinking the Bulleit Bourbon barrel strength, you know, in the future many times. And hopefully this video gave you enough to kind of compare and contrast, and you know, see if maybe the Bulleit Bourbon barrel strength is something that you might want to explore on if you haven't already. And if you have access to George T. Stagg, you know, cheers, more power to you. That's awesome. Like I said, I'm envious, and it's one of my favorites. But if it's out of your budget, or it's not something that you can find, not a bottle you can find, like many of us have a hard time getting it, consider the Bulleit Bourbon barrel strength, because it's going to give you a similar experience and a similar quality and high proof that I think is really enjoyable and well worth the price. I think it's a really nice value bourbon, especially at barrel proof. So that's going to do it for episode 1. If you liked what you saw, or, you know, hey, even if you didn't hate it, give us a thumbs up, or, you know, feel free to subscribe. And we're certainly going to be doing more videos like this, hopefully weekly. That's going to be our goal. And we look forward to your comments on what you think about George T. Stagg, what you think about Bulleit Bourbon, you know, especially the barrel strength. If you have other thoughts on bottles that are similar to George T. Stagg for you, or the Bulleit Bourbon barrel strength, love to hear about it. If you have suggestions on how to make this channel better, bring it on. I'm always up for thoughts, especially from, you know, the whiskey community. And thanks so much again for watching, and have a good one. Work hard, whisk easy. Cheers. Welcome to Whiskey Society.